If you like this video, make sure to visit our Vimeo page and follow us to get the latest update.
All right, so let's start now. So in the previous lecture, we discussed about the basic component of the CIG implementation. And as part of the basic component, we discussed about the cloud connector, how we have to set up the cloud connector. Prior to that, we discussed about at high level, how we have to build form our team for the CIG implementation, or whatever the different activities that we have to actually follow as part of this CIG implementation. That's something we discussed. And then we started talking on the CIG implementation. So we are talking from the scratch and in step-by-step way. So initially, once the implementation will get started, so we have to raise the request to basis team to download the add-on, or they have to do the add-on installation in the SAP ERP system. So we discussed about how our basis team, they are going to download and install the add-on that we discussed, and we understood they have to go with the SAP service marketplace, and from there they have to download and install the Ariba specific add-on, right? So that we understood in the previous session, and apart from that, we also understood the cloud connector. So once that add-on installation will be done, we are not talking about the any add-on configuration as of now. We are talking about only the add-on installation. So once the add-on installation will be done, then the same basis team, basis personnel, they have to install the cloud connector as well. And we understood, like, once they have to install this cloud connector, they have to go to one site, that is tools.hanaonedemand.com. And from there, they have to download the cloud connector based on the operating system. Whatever the operating system the client they have, accordingly they will install the cloud connector. And once they will install the cloud connector, then they have to provide some information in the cloud connector relevant to the sub account. So whatever the sub account is that is created, they have to give all the informations, and then they have to provide the ERP system information as well. So they have to give the different kind of information like host, proxy, server name, all the informations they have to give, and they have to add the ERP connections on the cloud connector. Okay. So once we'll add these ERP connections on the cloud connector, and based on the information what we have added, based on that, system will check the connectivity with the ERP system, and if the connections is reachable, that means now cloud connector setup has been completed, right? So once we do these two activity from the basis point of view, parallelly the Ariba customer support team, they also have to enable the cloud integration gateway features to our customer. All right. So in today's session, in third step, we are going to discuss how the Ariba shared service team, they will add the cloud integration gateway feature to our customer license, and how actually we have to enable the cloud integration gateway feature to our customer as well. So this part we will discuss in today's webinar. And after that, we will start talking on the add-on configuration, and we'll see whatever different configuration that we have to perform as part of the add-on setup. That's something we will discuss in today's session itself. So let's talk about this, how we have to enable the CIG with the help of the Ariba customer support team. But before that, is there any question, comment, suggestion from anyone?
Yeah, I have one question, bro. On the cloud connector, right? So is the say we install the add-on and we configure it. So for even for S4HANA as well as the SAP ECC, for S4HANA Cloud, I'm not sure, because if S4HANA is on-prem, then yeah, we need the cloud connector. So if in case it is a cloud system of S4HANA, we still need cloud connector, is it, or it can connect directly, or do we have any special way of doing it?
Okay, I need to check on this part. Even I never worked on this S4HANA cloud integration part. I will check
Okay.
it and get back to you. But I am also assuming, in case of this S4HANA cloud, we don't require the cloud connector.
The cloud connector, right?
We may have some different mechanism for that. I need to check on this part.
Okay, Roman, yeah, and then I'll wait for that comment. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Any further question? Lalit, Srinu?
No, Rohan, nothing is wrong.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about how actually we have to connect to CIG, how actually we have to enable the CIG on this our Ariba applications. So whenever there is a requirement to enable the CIG from the Ariba side, so CIG enablement we can do from three places. Either we can do on the Ariba network, or we can do on the Ariba solution, Ariba sourcing, or we can do on the Ariba procurement. So depending on the scope, whatever the scope you have, accordingly, you can enable the CIG on at any places. So for example, you're working on the commerce automation or supply chain collaboration implementation. So definitely in that cases, the sourcing and procurement part will not come in the picture, right? So in that cases, we have to enable the CIG only on the Ariba network. Or let's say your customer, they are implementing Ariba strategic sourcing suite. They don't have the Ariba buying and invoicing solution. So in that cases, you will have the two options to enable the CIG. Either you can do on the Ariba network, or you can do on the Ariba sourcing as well. All right. Or in some cases, you may see some customer, they are implementing only Ariba P2P solution, that is Ariba buying and invoicing solution. So in that cases, they will have the options on the Ariba P2P, or they can do on the Ariba network as well. So depending on the scope, like whatever the scope we have as part of the implementation, accordingly, we have to do either any on one places. It's not like that we have to do in all the places. We can do either any one places like Ariba sourcing, Ariba procurement, or the Ariba network. Okay. So let's talk about how actually we have to do this activity and what basically we have to, what activity we have to actually perform in these cases. So here it is given some prerequisite before going to enable the cloud integration gateway component to our customer side. So we should have some prerequisite like an active buyer account on the Ariba network. That means your license should be in active status. It's not like that your license is inactive and you are requesting SAP Ariba shared service team to enable the CIG. That would not be possible. All right. And a valid buyer supplier relationship on the Ariba network. This is mainly applicable for the P2P solution. So that means your P2P solution should be in place, like, for that. Then we have to enable our buyer Ariba network buyer account to access CIG. This is a general things, and access to SAP service, SAP marketplace to download the Ariba CIG add-on for our ERP or S4HANA. This is a common thing that we did earlier as well. And configure SAP Ariba CIG add-on. This is the basic thing. It's actually the next step activity, not a kind of prerequisite. And configure your certificate. This is something, yeah, it's a, I would say mandatory, right, as part of the add-on configuration, because certificate is something just linking your Ariba system CIG tool to the ERP system that should be in place. Even though I don't think so, it's stopping to enable the CIG component. It based without this as well. SAP team they can enable the CIG. So this is something just high level like information about the prerequisite. And once we are ready to enable the CIG, so actually as I said in these cases we have the two-step activity. Initial step activity will be done by the Ariba shared service team. Okay. And after that, in the step 2, we have to enable the CIG as the Ariba consultant. So this process includes two-step activity. And the first step activity, what actually it require? So it required to add the our customer Ariba network ID, or I would say customer licensing ID to the CIG component under the feature availability status. So feature availability status is a kind of additional configuration that we may get if you're the part of the Ariba support team, Ariba shared service team. In that cases, you will have. And in that feature availability status, actually the customer licensing ID needs to be added on the for the CIG product. Okay. So actually this activity will be done by the Ariba customer support team, Ariba shared service team. So whatever the information we are going to discuss, that is just only for our information purpose, our knowledge purpose, and we are not going to perform this kind of activity to our customer side. So same thing, it is clearly mentioned here. The information provided here is just for understanding purpose. User needs to contact Ariba customer support for this particular activity. Okay. So let's see what actually they are doing, like, as part of this enabling this CIG component to the customer side. So whenever they would like to do this, so in the first, we are going to talk about how we have to enable or how they are enabling the CIG component on the Ariba network. So if you see this screenshot, this is something about the Ariba network screenshot, right? So the Ariba shared service team, they will logged in on the Ariba network. They will have the additional access on the Ariba network. So like we can see, they will have a kind of features tab there. They have to click on this features option. And once they will click on this feature option, then they will get a kind of this option under the manage. So we can see under manage, you will have the option of the feature availability status. So we have to go in the feature availability status. And once it will come, so we have to search the cloud integration gateway. So you can search by putting the full name, or even you can search by giving the only cloud name itself, and you have to find out like where is the cloud Ariba cloud integration gateway options are there. So once you find out the cloud integration gateway for buyer, for customer, then they have to click on this edit. And once they will click on the edit, they will add the customer NID here. So for which customer they want to enable the CIG component, that customer NID they need to add in here. We can see under this NID, and once it will get selected, then they have to click on the save. And once they will click on the save, that means this NID is added for your cloud integration gateway component. Okay. So like this, they are going to enable the CIG from the Ariba network point of view. In case if you're having only the commerce automation or supply chain collaboration. Otherwise, if you are having the Ariba strategic sourcing suite or buying and invoicing solution, in that cases, we can enable the CIG from the core administration or from the administration config itself. Okay. How we can do that? So let's see. Okay, I'm skipping. I'll talk about this in some time. Okay, so how actually they are going to do this, like, in the Ariba sourcing or in the Ariba P2P itself. So for that, they have to log in the administration and or the core administration. So once we logged in the administration or the core administration, so you will get the options of the feature manager here. So in this screenshot, we can see they have logged in the administration. And in the administration, we can see they are having the different additional config access as well. So they have to come in the feature manager. And once we'll come in the feature manager, here we will see the same option, feature availability status. So once we enable this feature availability status, then same way you will get a kind of search option. We can put the text as a cloud, or you can put the complete text as well, cloud integration gateway. And based on that, you have to search, then system will show you the list of features. Okay. One more thing I would like to highlight here, this is not about only for the, like, this cloud integration gateway feature. Apart from that, whenever we are asking or we are raising any kind of SR to the Ariba shared service team to enable any kind of particular feature for the Ariba strategic sourcing or Ariba buying and invoicing solution. So they are actually enabling the features from here itself. So whatever the toggles that you have requested to the Ariba shared service team to enable for your customer side, they are actually enabling all the particular features from the feature manager itself. So actually this feature manager containing all the list of features, and depending on the license, whatever license your customer they have purchased, based on that they will enable or disable any of the particular feature from the feature manager itself. Okay. So once we come here in this cloud integration gateway, we have to click on this edit. And once we click on this edit, then here we can, so once we click on this add and remove option, then in the next, we have to find out the customer sequence ID, serial ID. Now in these cases, we can talk in some different way. So let's say, I'm maintaining some like list of the audience record. So when I'm maintaining some list of the audience record, so I'm maintaining some serial wise, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So 1 Sham, second Jay, third, ABC, like that I'm maintaining the list of audience report. So, whenever I have to refer the report, so it's not mandatory, like, I will go with the complete name itself. So based on the sequence ID itself, serial number ID itself, I will able to understand like who has joined or not. So let's say, for example, if I'll refer only like serial number one, so definitely one will be the same because in my record, one is talking about the same. So same thing, Ariba team, they are also Ariba company, they are also maintaining. So whenever the customer they are purchasing the Ariba license, so they are maintaining the list of the serial ID. And based on the ID itself, they can easily identify that, like the customer name. Okay. So same thing you can see in this screenshot as well. If you see in the left hand side, we can see we are having the serial ID 75, 76, 78, 79, something like that. Name you can see only simply bar organizations, right? But they are identifying all the informations with the help of the serial ID. That's something it is showing as part of the customer record based on the license. So for which customer ID they have to enable or disable any of the particular feature. So they will add based on this, like this ID itself. So for example, in this cases, you can see to add the cloud integration gateway component. Once we select this ID like 78, then 78 will get customer will have the Ariba CIG license. So for which customer they want to enable the CIG, they can choose the customer sequence here. Then they have to click on this done. And once they'll click on this done, now you can see for this like 78 customer ID, this CIG component has been added. And here they will able to see that client or customer EN ID information. Based on that, they will review all those things. And if this is good, they will click on this OK. And after hitting the OK, that means now CIG component has been added to your customer license. That's it. Okay. So this is the overall process that your the Ariba shared service team they are following to enable the CIG. Either they can do on the Ariba network or we can perform in core administration or in the administration as well. So now overall from the Ariba shared service team point of view, they will say your Ariba system is now ready for the further processing, further configuration for the CIG. Now whatever the different setup that you required, that's something you can perform. But before that, you also have to enable the CIG. So they have enabled the CIG at the year end, but still the CIG enablement is not done completely. We also have to enable the CIG. Now, what actually we have to do that in that cases? So for that, we have to log in. So now our role will come in the picture. And as a Ariba consultant, we have to log in the SAP Ariba. We have to navigate in the core administration or in the administration. And once you go that, so same way we have to refer manage, and from manage we have to refer the administration or core administration. Then we have to go to the integration manager. So this here in this cases, we can say this is the old PowerPoint little bit. So now we can see in this cases, the name it is showing cloud integration gateway, but this time the name of the CIJ getting changed. Now it is called as a manage spender network. Okay, we'll see this part in the system itself. So in the system, you will not be able to find out the cloud integration gateway name there. Instead of that, you will have something manage spend and network gateway, something like that. It is there. I'll show you, but it is saying talking same thing as CIG only. So they have renamed this CIG as part of the manage spend network gateway, something like that. Okay, but ultimately we have to click on that option itself. And once you click on that particular options, then very first time, this option you will get very first time. So when you logged in first time after confirmation from the Ariba customer support team, you will get these two checkbox here. So we can see we are having two checkbox, enable the cloud integration gateway capabilities, and we have to accept these terms of agreement. So these two things we have to actually enable, we have to accept. And once you accept it, then you will click on this save. And once you click on this save, so that means you are enabling CIG. So once you do this, then if you click on the save, that means your CIG will be enabled. And from the next time, whenever you are going to log in the integration manager, and if you want to access the cloud integration gateway, always you will able to see this kind of information there, that is, status enabled, and system automatically build up the hyperlink here. And this is the place, not only this means in the sense, not only this administration integration manager, you can go to the core administration integration manager, you can go to Ariba network, and under the configuration you can find like cloud integration gateway setup there. So whenever you want to access CIG, these are the only like places from here, from where you can access CIG. Either you can do from the administration in case of strategic sourcing, or you can do in the you can do from the core administration in case of the buying and invoicing solution, or you can do from the Ariba network under the cloud integration gateway setup. So these are the only places from where you have to access the CIG. So we always, whenever you have the requirement to access, we always have to come here and we have to access the CIG. Okay. Now, once you enable the CIG, then what system will do? System will automatically send one email notification to your customer registered email address. So during purchasing the Ariba license, like whatever the email address that is registered, that email will receive a kind of like automatic email from the Ariba side, and that email contains the information about your P user ID. So you will have the information about the P user ID. Generally, you might seen that like when we are creating our account or any other user account on the Ariba spend, so that recipient is getting one email like welcome to the Ariba, right? Your email, your user ID is this, temporary password is this, please click here to reset the password. This kind of email we are receiving. Correct. So same way, like that the customer they will also receive the a kind of email notification, and that email contains the information about the P user ID, and we will have a kind of link to reset our password. So we have to actually generate the password or reset the password of the P user ID, and the P user ID is very important, like information. So we have to keep the P user ID and the password very carefully, because the P user ID is not a kind of alphanumeric value. P user ID is called as your CIG licensing ID. All right. So this P user ID we have to use in different places. So when we'll configure the add-on in the ERP system, in the multiple places we have to use the P user ID. Same way, whenever like that you have to add any system information in the CIG tool, there also we have to provide this P user ID information. So P user ID information is very important. So we have to keep it very carefully. And now in the next, we can say after generating the P user ID, that means CIG enablement is also done. And we are now start to config the other next setup in the ERP side or in the CIG side. Okay, so like this, actually we have to enable the CIG to the customer license. Any question here? Am I clear?
Rohit, Lalit here. Question here.
Mhm.
You have shown a screen where we need to activate specific buyer organizations cloud integration gateway CIG. That screen is with SAP Ariba, that feature manager.
Yes, yes. This access will only be available with the Ariba customer support team, not with us.
Okay. Thank you.
Because like if you see in the SAP ERP system, so whenever we have to enable or disable any features, how we are doing? I think we are using something, one T code we have, right? To enable any log, right? Actually the base system they are doing. So from there we can enable or disable any kind of particular feature. So same thing, like the Ariba they are doing from the feature manager. So this will always be there with the Ariba team, not with us.
And it will be within network login with Ariba supporting.
They will have in all the places, Ariba network, sourcing, procurement, because it's not only the CIG feature, it's containing all the particular feature, whatever different features you have in the Ariba system. Okay.
Sure, right. Thank you.
Okay. Any further question from anyone? Okay. So let me just run this PPT, few more information, just only for your like little bit understanding purpose. And we are going to discuss all these things in the system itself. But let me see if some information is important for us. Yeah. One thing is very important. We can see in this like slide, it is saying each P user is associated with only one AN bar account. So as a Ariba sourcing customer, even though you enable CIG through your sourcing realm for sourcing master data integration, no new user ID will get created when you enable CIG again through Ariba network for sourcing transaction integration. And system has the intelligence built to check AN bar ID connected to your sourcing realm to avoid duplicate creation on user. So sometimes it happen like, sometimes even you have may also have seen that your customer, they have only implemented like SLP module, right? Or strategic sourcing module. Now in the next phase, their plan is that they want to implement the Ariba buying and invoicing solution, or they want to implement the Ariba supply chain collaboration or commerce automation, right? So let's say your customer, they are going to implement this Ariba buying and invoicing solution. So in that case, might be you may have to go to the core administration, and under the integration manager, you have to enable that like that checkbox, right? Or you may have to go on the Ariba network. From there, you have to enable the checkbox. So in that cases, it might possible we might be in under the impression like, okay, once we enable, we'll receive the new user ID or password, because earlier we have enabled only for the strategic sourcing. Now we are going to enable for the Ariba buying and invoicing solution or commerce automation or supply chain collaboration. So we may expect a new user ID information from the SAP, but that is something not possible, because the user ID is a unique to your customer ID. Customer ID means we can say unique to the Ariba network ID. So whatever the AN ID that is the year and for which you enable this like the CIG, that will be for entire whole AN ID. So if your AN ID is the same, definitely in that case you are not going to receive any kind of P user ID. But in some cases, if you are having the different AN ID, generally it's not like a common thing or even not possible as well. So, but in some cases, in some exceptional cases, we can say if you are having two different AN ID, that like, then you will able to, you may receive the different P user ID. Otherwise, for a single AN ID, you will have a single P user ID. Okay. Now, let me see something is important. This is something about procurement. So it's talking about same thing, like we have to go to feature availability status, and same way what we discussed, same thing it is required to do here itself. And with the help of this, we can enable CIG for the Ariba procurement as well. Okay. Okay, this is one thing let me just tell you, this is something important. So actually, if you see here, in these cases, what it is talking about, in case of the P2P, that CIG enablement, I'll not take much time to talk on this, but just one thing it is important to discuss here. So this screenshot, you can see, this is talking about enabling the CIG in your Ariba procurement solutions, Ariba buying and invoicing solutions. And for that, we have to log in the Ariba, navigate to that core administration. And once you come in the core administration, so same way we have to go in the feature availability status. under the core administration. This is job of the Ariba shared service team. So once they will come here, so here same way they have to find out, they will try to search the cloud integration gateway. And once they'll find out, then same way they will add the customer ID in the CIG component, right? And once they will do this, they have to click on this done here. And once they will click on this, so you can see the same customer ID will get added, for the CIG. So that means for this customer ID, CIG component is now has been added. And after this, if you see, it is talking about repeat step 1 to 6 to enable a procurement site for enable asynchronous integration events for web service channel feature. Okay. So this is something we can say, like, that when we are enabling, I'm not pretty much sure, like, have you enabled CIG anytime in the Ariba P2P solutions? Anyone?
We did, Rohan, so we actually enabled the.
Okay. So do you remember, like, while enabling the CIG, so when we are selecting the checkbox, we have to select some web services as well. That is asynchronous task we have to select.
Yeah, depending on what task, say for example, if it is on purchase order or purchase acquisition, depending on that, yeah, we'll choose that specific task and we'll enable that with CIG or direct web service. We will choose CIG in that case when we use CIG. If not, we'll use the direct web service task.
That's correct. But in case of P2P, without selecting the any task, system not allowing to save it.
Okay, maybe I'm not remembering it. Sorry.
Yeah, so the same thing happening, like once you, in case of the Ariba strategic sourcing, we don't have any kind of, like, the problem there, because in that case, this task will not be applicable as part of web services. But whenever you are going to enable the CIG, in case of, like, the P2P solution, so in that cases, we may have to select at least one task. So once you choose the one particular task, then like system will allow you to, that save your particular CIG
Enablement.
implement. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So it is talking about the same thing, like, here itself. So we have to follow the same process to enable, like, that this is not our activity actually. This is the backend Ariba customer support activity. But why they have to do this? Because of this. So if you actually come, or let me tell you in different way, just to avoid any kind of confusion. So whenever we are going to enable the CIG component as a Ariba consultant for the procurement solutions, system will ask you to choose the different web services task. Okay, it's not about, like, only for the purchase order for the invoice based on the requirement. Whatever the different asynchronous task is applicable, you have to choose the particular task. So actually the Ariba team, they are actually just creating a kind of, like, that a prerequisite activity or predecessor activity for this. The same thing they are doing here itself. So this is not our activity. This is done by the Ariba customer support team, but I am just adding this information here. And once they will enable this, so what they are doing, they also have to enable the parameter, and that parameter they can find out under the customization manager parameters. Okay, this time I think it's a move to the now ICM, intelligent configuration manager, or I may wrong as well, because we never seen that the Ariba side, Ariba people's access, so they may have some parameter under the customization manager as well. That might also be possible. So they have to come in this customization manager parameters. And once they will come, you can see application.common async integration task. They are going to just enable this. Okay. So based on this, they're enabling any of the particular, like, that async task. And once they will do this, that means now this particular task is now ready, right? And that means they have done their task as well. So same thing, later point of time, once, like, we will enable. So when we have to enable, the same way we have to come in the cloud integration gateway, then we can see here. This will give you more sense. So we have to enable this particular, like, that check both the checkbox, what we have done in the Ariba strategic sourcing or in the administration part. And you can see here it is asking about the some task. Okay, so as even earlier I told you, it's not mandatory. You have to choose all the particular tasks depending on the scope, whatever scope you have. Based on that, you have to actually choose the particular task. So why system is asking to choose any of the particular task? System is asking based on the setup, what is done by the earlier from the Ariba customer support team. Okay, so based on that only they're asking to enable this particular task. And now once you select this enablement indicator and this required existing task and then click on the save, then your CIG enablement will be done in the Ariba P2P. So from process point of view, if you see, we are following the same process. Only differences is that in case of this Ariba P2P solution, we have to enable some async task depending on the scope, whatever you are going to implement. Making some sense? Okay. Okay, now I think this is same thing what we discussed. This is nothing new. And this we'll discuss in the coming session on the CIG. So let me just move to this. So now what will happen overall, if you see, so we have done this this CIG enablement. So initially in the first step, we have completed the activity that is the add-on installation. After that, we have done this cloud connector setup. Now we can say we have enabled the cloud integration gateway as well. So once we complete all this particular activity, then in the next step, the basis consultant, they have to go to the ERP system, like in SAP ECC or S4HANA, and they have to perform some add-on configuration. So they will not configure the complete add-on. They will configure some configuration from technical perspective. Okay, so whatever different kind of technical configuration that your basis team is going to perform in the ERP system, let's talk about that part. Okay, so once you come to the ERP system, and once you log in the ERP system, so we have to use one transaction code SPRO. So we have to enter one SPRO transaction code. And when you enter in the SPRO transaction code, so once you come here, we can see we have the SAP reference IMG option. Open this SAP reference IMG. And once you open the SAP reference IMG, you will able to see all the particular configuration node, what is there in the SAP ERP system. Okay. Now to access this, our Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway configuration, we have to come in the last. And here we can see we have the integration with other SAP component. Right. So we have to come in this integration with other SAP component. And once you click on this, we can see we have the config node, that is SAP Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway. Okay. So once we come here in the SAP Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway, inside this, if you see, so recently earlier some options was this, but recently in the, I think in 2305 release, or I would say in the SP18 release, SAP has added some more functionality in the ERP system under CIG. Otherwise, if any one of you is having the access for SP15 or SP14, so in that cases, you will not be able to find out all the different config step there. Okay. Now, what is the SP14? What is the SP16? Do you know about the CIG version? Anyone knows about the CIG version? What is the current version of the CIG? Or if you logged in the SAP ERP system, so how you can find out which CIG version, which CIG component has been installed in your customer ERP side? How?
System.
Sorry, your voice is not clear, Siru.
System. Click on system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. So right now, basically, the CIG Ariba has released the SP19 version. SP19 is the version of the CIG. Sometimes during interview also, we are asking the question or we are getting this kind of question, what is your current version of the CIG? So right now the SP19 version is going on. And but if you want to see like in your customer side, like which CIG add-on install, what is the version for that? So we can come to the system, like how we navigated to this part. So we have to go to system. From there, we have to choose the status. And once you choose the status, here we can see we are having the product versions, right? So we have to come here and click on this details. And once you click on these details, then here you will able to see all the particular like that solutions and version what is implemented or what is installed in your like SAP ERP system. So once you come here, you will be able to see about the CIG itself. So even we can sort it, but let me come down. You can see this one. So here we can see ARBC CI1. So generally CI1 is applicable for ESP0 to ESP8 or in case of S/4HANA. So we have to check this ARBC I1, and in the ARBC I1 you can see the component is something SP level 18. Okay, so what is the SP level 18? SP level 18 in the sense that is SP18 version. Okay, so with the help of this SP label, you can easily identify that. If you can see SP18, sorry, 18, that means you have to understand that it is service pack like 18. If you can say like 19, that means you have to understand this client. They are having the CIG version like SP19. If you can see the like SP14, SP15. So in that cases, you have to understand like this customer, they are having the lesser version, that is old version, that is SP14 and SP16. Okay, so like this we can find out this information about the CIG version. Now one more question I would like to ask you, try to participate if possible. Now let's assume your customer, they are going to implement this like a Ariba solution, and they have the integration in scope as well. And your basis team, they are going to install the CIG add-on. They don't know like what is the current version is going on, like SP19, SP18, SP16, right? And even let's assume you are also not much aware like what is the current version going on, but recently you implemented the Ariba, like let's say 6 months back, and that time you have used the SP15 version. So you are thinking like, okay, I think a few months back I implemented, that time it was SP15. Currently that we are not sure, but or even you can say currently you came to know now SP18 version has been released. So your base system, they will come back to you and they will ask you like which version I have to install. Either I have to go with the SP15 or I have to go with this like SP18. So which version you will propose and why? You got my question, or can I repeat the question once again?
The question answer. I don't know.
My question is that like your basis team, they are installing the CIG add-on, and that the current version is a SP18 and earlier you used the SP15. So you are familiar with the SP15 and even the current version is a SP18. Now your basis team is asking to you like, hey, can you please guide me which version I have to install? So which version you will propose and why?
I'll prefer higher version so that it covers most of the bugs, right?
Let's say there is no bugs.
And then most successful, I'll check with Ariba consulting team. So I'll take their assistance.
Okay. Any further guess?
We'll need to go with the latest SP, because support will be there for only latest version, I think. I mean, latest -1, or I don't know. There is some restriction on that. The latest -1 is where the support will be, beyond which there will be no support provided. Say if I if SP19 is the current version, they will support only till SP18, I believe. Maybe so that is the reason that we need to go with the latest system.
That's exactly correct. Okay, so SAP has given this thumb rule in case of the CIG version. So SAP is following, like, that we can say SPN, N means we can say like, current version. So SPN -1. Okay, so if you're using currently, like, let's say SP 18, and if the current version is that, like, the SP19, so you are eligible to get some support. Support means it's not like that you are facing any challenges, they will not support you. Support in the sense you cannot expect any kind of new features, any kind of like a bug fixing, that kind of things would not be possible in the cases. You can continue, you can use this, there is no harm in this case. But if you're expecting, like, I should get some latest feature, I heard about this, like SAP has released some of the features, right? But in our CIG tool, I cannot see that kind of thing. So this kind of thing you will not get. Why you will not get? Because SAP has given the simple rule, that is your version N-1. So currently we are having the version, like, we can say SP19. So you may get support like a new releases or feature update only up to this SP18. Okay, or might be in some exceptional cases we can see SP17 as well. But if you're having the very old version like SP16, SP15, in that case definitely you have to first upgrade. SAP will recommend to upgrade your version. So that's the reason whenever we are implementing the Ariba solutions, then we always have to recommend to our basis team, please to take this latest version of the the CIG. Okay. Even sometimes it also happen like in our project when we were implementing one project of Ariba supply chain collaboration to one of the US customer. So when we started working on the integration part, that time it was the SP14. So we have installed the SP14 and we have done all the configuration. We have done the like system setup integration. Integration testing also was completed, and we are about to go live in the next month. But that time SAP has released SP15, then even SP16 also came in the market, or it's supposed to come. So we had discussion with the SAP delivery team, and they have also requested to client to wait for at least 10 days. They have to postpone the plan for 10 days. And they have recommended, like, please upgrade your CIG version, because as of now, we have not like gone live yet. So we are having some options. We can upgrade the CIG. So even the upgradation happens, and as part of that, we have performed the end-to-end testing. Once again, it's not like that upgrading that like any features is going to impact your business process or transactional process. But from safer side, it is recommended to perform a kind of like that regression testing, or we can do some integration testing that we have to perform. So that's why we have to recommend to customer to go with the latest version. Okay. Okay, so apart from that, so the version informations we can find out like here itself, and now once you have the version information, then we can come to this that CIG config node. Now we can see we are having the different config node here, that is the global settings. So global settings is a kind of, it mostly contains the technical configuration that basis they have to perform. Only few configurations only we have to perform. We'll talk about that. And in the next we can see Ariba network. Okay, before we can talk about the Ariba network, if you come to the global setting, so whatever the different config you can see here, like we're having different config node. So mostly we can see the technical configuration here, that is maintain certificate, create RFC destination, create port definition, logical system, receiver port, different config we can see. So only few of the config that we have to actually perform as a Ariba consultant. Otherwise, if you are expertise in this area as part of basis, you can do that. Otherwise, this activity will be purely done by the basis consultant. Okay. And then apart from that, we can see master data integration. That's something like also we have to perform, right? master data native integration. So you have the two option. Either you can configure the master data integration, or you can configure this master data native integration as well. SAP has given these options as well. SAP Ariba static sourcing suite integration. That's easy for the Ariba static sourcing integration. SAP Ariba procurement integration, that is for the buying and invoicing solutions we have to perform. Configuration activities for to transfer data. So these two config node, that is configuration activities to transfer data and test central. So these two nodes SAP has, I think, given recently, right? These two nodes is even though we have this option, but still it not is completely functional. So we talk about some at high level, whatever we can do. Even many things we are not able to do as of now. Might be in the coming releases, we may see some these options will be functional, but like that, different options we have here. Okay. So in the next, let's talk about, we'll go in the sequential way. So let's talk about first the global settings. So we'll see as part of global settings, or whatever things that something base system they have to do. Even we will see in the system itself, and I will run a kind of PowerPoint as well, just for your easy understanding, because this is mostly the technical configuration. So we may not be able to digest all the particular configuration. So we'll try to understand at high level, like whatever the step-by-step activity that our base system they have to perform. That's something we'll discuss with the help of the system and the PPT as well. Okay. We'll talk about that, but before that, let's take a yes,
I do not know, but would it be an idea if we run one project, then we look at this configuration so that we can relate, right?
Yeah. Sorry, come again.
I mean, would it be a right idea? I mean, if we run one project in CIG, so that we can relate. Okay, so we are extracting data, then we need to maintain the RFC destination, port definition, logical systems, and so that we can relate. Otherwise, I'm trying to hold on these things until we see the CIG part. I mean, actual CIG part.
No, but this is the prerequisite, how we can move to the CIG. We can move, but this is the prerequisite, right?
Yeah, no, it's like we are looking at the engine part. I do not know why I'm looking at the engine part without knowing existence of the bike.
No, just simplify your question. I'm not able to understand.
Okay, so what I mean to say is, if you show us the bike first, and then if you show us to accelerate, we need a diesel or a petrol engine. So then when you explain about the engine, so we pay more attention on it. Otherwise, we are holding these things. I mean, we are trying to hold and we are trying to remember it. I mean, that's my point of view. I do not know why. I mean, how others.
You mean to say like you want to say a kind of process first? Process means like a kind of transaction first. Then you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So I'm requesting.
That's something I don't think so. It's possible. The problem is that this system, what we have this S4 system and the Ariba system. So the complete integration process flow you can see only in the real time in the client side. Okay. So this system is not like integrated as like in such a way you can run a kind of end-to-end cycle. So I believe you're talking to run one transactions, whatever transactions you want to run, right? And then
one transaction, let's say one master data pull or one document post, so that okay, two systems are there. How we integrate? What are all the components involved? I mean, what are all the authentications required? Then we can think about the dependencies, and then we can recall and we can group these things together, right? So that's what. I mean, if you think this is right way, go ahead. I'm fine with it. But I'm just, I mean, I'm conveying my idea. That's it.
okay, then let me tell me one thing. Let's assume I'm going to create one RFQ in the S4 system, and RFQ. I'll show you how it is going to transmit to the Ariba. Ariba means CIG till CIG. So will you able to correlate this all the configuration there? That's your idea.
Right. So that we can think, okay, from ECC standpoint, this is the place where we enter the CIG related information so that we can hold this information. Like PI, right? Even in PI also we do configuration. SAP PI next slide.
Okay. Then let me do one thing. The complete process flow would not be possible because this both the system are not completely integrated. Will not be able to execute complete end-to-end cycle.
Okay.
But let me do one thing. Let me just create one RFQ in the S4 system.
Right.
And RFQ we would be able to send to this CIG. Till CIG, it is the integration is in place, and not up to CIG. So we'll only that play like send that the RFQ to CIG. And otherwise, what I will do, that's something I'll show you. And otherwise, I will also run a kind of single slide just to
Right.
brief the process flow of the RFQ integration. And then it will come to this particular config node. Okay. So if that is
You
easy for you, that we can do it. Otherwise, even if you see this diagram, what we discussed about this, so this is also we are following same thing. Right. So as we discussed as part of this as well, like ERP
I mean,
to
you can check
CIG
with
to
other
Ariba
friends.
sourcing, correct?
If they're
So we are at
comfortable
like
with
first,
this,
so this is.
you can check with other
So
friends
in this case
also.
also, if you say, so to establish this kind of architecture also, we have to go with this ERP, then CIG, then Ariba side. Okay, no issue, I'll do it. Let me run one RFQ. I will brief the process, then we'll talk about the configuration. It's fine.
You can check with other friends also. I mean, if they're comfortable with it, we go ahead. Otherwise, we'll go with as you thought.
What is your thought, Lalit and Ram?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with this approach to no problem there. Yeah, anyways, it's gonna be only till CAG, right? So yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do in the same way. So we'll talk about the first process flow. Then accordingly, we'll try to build up this step by step, like the process step. Then we'll talk about this configuration.
So anyways, we'll be touching base on we will touch base on the technical configuration that is required in the ECC as well as in
The same
the
thing. Yeah,
CAG, right?
right.
Yeah, okay. Great.
Yes.
Thanks for that.
So we'll do in both the way actually, but the Srinu concern was like why not we can talk about one business process, and then we'll talk about like to build up this to design this business process, whatever things we have to do, that will help easily to correlate the configuration part. So
Yeah, sure.
we'll do this, but I just said this in process flow would not be possible. I will run one transaction, and otherwise I'll run one PPT, one slide to show the process flow. Accordingly, we'll talk. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me run one cycle. Cycle in the sense, as I said earlier, we will not able to see the complete end-to-end cycle in the system because the system is still the integration is in progress, right? The complete integration is not there. We can only create some transactions, like we can create RFQ and we can send it to CIG. That's it, right? So instead of that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you one a piece of the process. Okay, and based on that, that or whatever the you want to take, we can take any of the cycle, whatever you want. But I think RFQ integration, like sourcing integration, is a little bit complex, and that some little bit lengthy as well. So let's talk about this one sourcing process cycle from the RFQ to the purchase order or the contract. And let's try to understand the process, and based on that, we will try to build up the system that might help you to understand in very easy way. So what do you think? Is it a good approach? Are you good on this with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you can see this slide. So this slide is talking about one process flow of this sourcing integration, and this is applicable in case if your customer they have implemented the the sourcing module only in the Ariba side, and they have the backend SAP system as well. So in that cases, how they are going to run this process, that's something this slide is talking about. Okay, so you can see in this cases, what basically we have to do from the system architecture point of view, you will have the 4-layer, or I would say only 3-layer. So we can see in this cases, we are having 4-layer. That is first in the downside, you can see that is the our ERP system layer. Then we can see we are having the CIG layer. In third, we can see Ariba network. So Ariba network is a backbone. So Ariba network will always be there. That's something we can ignore. And then we will have the Ariba sourcing layer, right? So in these cases, how the process will work. So in that cases, in the first step, we have to create the purchase requisition in the ERP system, whatever ERP system you have, SAP, ECC or S4HANA. And once you create the purchase requisition in the ERP system, that purchase requisition we have to convert in the purchase order, in the RFQ, and that RFQ will get transmitted to the Ariba CIG. Okay, so how this RFQ will go to the CIG, that will go with the help of the IDOC. So RFQ will generate the IDOC, where the IDOC, it will go to the Ariba CIG. And once it will reach to Ariba CIG. So the SAP ERP having different language and Ariba is having different language. So once this information will come to Ariba CIG, then the Ariba CIG will convert IDOC information into the XML information, and that XML information will come to your Ariba network, and it will reach to the Ariba sourcing solution. And once it will go to the Ariba sourcing solution, so in the Ariba sourcing solutions, one sourcing request will get created automatically with the difference of the RFQ, what to be sent from the ERP system. So then the sourcing manager or sourcing agent, they have to process that a sourcing request. They have to perform the required activity based on your system customer configuration. And then once they will complete that, they have to create the different kind of RFX event. Whatever the RFX event they want to create, a request for information, a request for proposal, or we can say reverse auction or forward auction. So whatever the particular event they want to create, they have to create the different type of event in the Ariba sourcing solution. And once they will run the event, so after successful execution of the event, they have to complete the awarding activity. They have to do the supplier selection part. And when the supplier will get selected, so during the awarding activity itself, like business user, they have to specify what they want to create in the ERP system as part of the subsequent document or follow-on document. So based on this selection, whatever option they want to choose, they can choose the option like purchase order or the contract. And based on the selection, that information will come back to your CIG, and by CIG, it will create the purchase order or contract in the SAP ERP system. Okay, so this kind of process, you may say, you may expect to design, like if your customer, they are implementing only the Ariba sourcing module and they have the backend system as a SAP ERP system. So now if you see as part of this process flow, whatever the different configuration we have to actually perform. So in these cases, if you see, we have to do the setup in the SAP ERP side first, right? And then we have to do some certain setup on the Ariba CIG. After that, we have to do some certain setup in the Ariba side as well. Okay, so let's talk about whatever different setup that actually we have to perform in these cases. So in these cases, overall, if you see, we have to actually perform the configuration. So we can just make a note for this for your easy understanding. ERP side configuration. Then CIG side configuration. And in third, we can say Ariba side configuration. Please let me know if it is making sense for you, like how we're talking.
Ariba said it is on network, right? Ariba network, right?
Yeah, you can say. Okay, let me just make a note, then I'll talk about in detail level about all this configuration. I'm just adding some other miscellaneous configuration as part of general settings. Even we can cover in the other, in this applications configuration and master data integration setup as well. But just I added so that you will not miss anything. So this is something about this. I think we are building a kind of course curriculum as well.
But stabilizes the knowledge. So that
Shinu, your voice is not feasible.
sorry for the trouble, Rohan. But this way, it stabilizes our knowledge. I mean, what you say, it will stick on, so that we can.
That's fine. Okay, so one disclaimer, this you can say in other way, we are going to design once again the complete course curriculum as well. Okay, so with the help of this, you have to basically correlate about the other integration, like if you're expecting, like let's say contract integration, P2P integration, right? So the same thing we have to basically follow in the same manner. Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it happens, some people they're expecting like, okay, now we understood about this, can you go one by one all the particular that particular transactions, so it will be kind of never ending job, right?
I agree.
So whatever the possible thing that we have to do, that I'm just adding here.
Yeah.
Ram, are you good with this?
Yeah, Rohan, I'm good with this. Yeah.
Okay. Now you can see. So in these cases, we have just mentioned all these possible configuration or possible object, which basically we have to touch to configure the end-to-end, integration for of Ariba sourcing module with the ERP system. So as we understood, as part of this process flow, we are like in their cases, we are creating the purchase request and RFQ in the ERP system. That RFQ we are sending to the Ariba, right? by the CIG. And in the Ariba system, we are actually, creating the different kind of event, and we are completing the awarding activity. That awarding activity, awarding information, we are sending to the ERP system, and based on the selection, the system is creating the contract or the purchase order. Okay, so these are the different things. That's something like, so in that cases, if as we discussed, so in that cases, we have to perform configuration in 3 places. So one place is the ERP system. So as part of the ERP system, we have to perform the different kind of configuration. So whatever different kind of configuration. Okay, so as part of that, we have to perform the configuration in the ERP system. Then we have to perform configuration on the CIG side, and we have to perform the configuration in the Ariba side as well. Okay, so Ariba side will include the Ariba network, including the Ariba applications as well. So both I just clubbed in the third step configuration. So if you see in the detail label in the ERP side, whatever things we have to do. So as we discussed earlier as well, so to done the integration, we have to first install the add-on. So we require to install the add-on, whatever the add-on is required for that. Then we have to enable the CIG, even though this is basically out of this ERP, but I just added here a kind of prerequisite. So we have to enable the CIG. After that, from the ERP side, we have to you set up the cloud connector as well. So we have to download and install the cloud connectors, right? Then we have to perform some global settings configuration. That is something, a kind of technical config we have to actually perform. Apart from that, we have to also discuss about this master data integration. So we have to integrate the master data. So whatever different kind of master data, that's something we needed. That's something I will talk, like we have to integrate from the ERP to the Ariba system. Then apart from that, we have to perform some certain configuration in the application specific, that is, we can say transaction specific. So as per our process flow, what we have seen that we are sending the RFQ from the ERP to the Ariba system. So in this cases, RFQ is a transaction, and for that we have to do some certain setup, right? And apart from that, we have to do some other miscellaneous configuration. Actually, that will cover as part of this application specific setup and the master data integration. But just I added here separately. So we have to do some general settings. So generally, in the general settings, so we have to set up the IDOC. So how basically we have to set up the IDOC, that's something we'll see. So this is something, the overall, that we can say process or configuration step that we have to actually perform the ERP side. Okay. Now, once you've done this, ERP side configuration, then we have to move to the CIG side. And in the CIG side, the CIG enablement will be we should be there as part of CIG side, but let's say ignore this. So in the CIG side, we have to set up the ERP system ID. So whatever the different that system ID you want to add as per your ERP landscape. So generally, if you see in the ERP side, we may have the sandbox, development, test client, UAT client, and the production client, right? So whatever different landscape that you are having, accordingly, we have to add the different system ID in the CIG. After that, we have to actually create the integration project. So whatever the particular documents you want to integrate, so based on that, we have to create some integration project, and we have to provide the different kind of information in the integration project. That's something we have to check. And in some certain cases, if the standard mapping, so as we discussed earlier as well, so for the Ariba to ERP integration, SAP has given the mapping as a standard, right? But in some certain cases, if the standard mapping is not working and you want to create some custom mapping, so we can do some custom mapping as well. So how we have to do the custom mapping, that's something we'll talk as part of the custom mapping. And we have the custom routing as well. So if you try to understand the sounds of the word custom routing, so in this cases, whatever the routing that SAP, that Ariba is following as a standard, But if you want to change the routing, so like you as per standard, SAP is sending the information from system A to system B, but you have the requirement like system should not send the information from system A to system B. System has to send the information from system A to system C. So in these cases, if you say, that means you are expecting a kind of custom routing, and that will come as part of the custom routing here. Okay. Then we can see certificate setup. So I just mentioned this like separately here, certificate setup. We don't have to do anything in the certificate. Anything in the sense, we don't have to perform any configuration. If in some cases, if required, you can download the certificate from the CIG and you can give it to basis team. They will do the same setup in the ERP side. So for that, like, we should know like from where we can get the certificate, because whenever they will get any kind of notification about the certificate expiration or certificate update. So in that cases, you have to download the certificate from the CIG and give it to the basis team. Then basis team, they will configure the certificate. So how to do that, something we'll do. Then we are having the transaction tracker. So transaction tracker is just only for your monitoring purpose. You can go in the transaction tracker. You can monitor the any of the particular information, right? So how actually we have to monitor whatever the different flexibilities that we have in the transaction tracker, that will talk as part of the CIG. So this is about the CIG side setup. Then apart from that, in the if you move to Ariba side configuration, so in the Ariba side configuration, like we have to actually configure the endpoint. Endpoint means in simple, you can say destination point. Like once we create the document, any particular documents, to which destination system you want to send that particular information, in that thing we have to actually configure as part of the endpoint configuration. Then apart from that, we have to configure some like, that additional document type. So generally, in the ERP side, if you see while creating the purchase order, purchase or contract, so we are using some standard document type like NB, that MK, WK. So this standard document type we are basically using. But sometimes while implementing this Ariba sourcing solution, if your customer, if they are having like the any custom document type like GV, GNB, or we can say GMK, GWK. So in that cases, we have to add the document type also in the Ariba side. Though this activity we have to perform with the help of the Ariba shared service team, but at least we should know how actually they are doing. That's something like, that we have to actually do that in the Ariba side. And in the last, we have to add the ERP system ID. This is not mandatory activity, but it required as part of the master data integration. So if you want to configure this, you can configure. Otherwise, this is completely optional. We can ignore. It's not mandatory. So this is the overall, like, that designing that we have to follow, in case if you are going to integrate the Ariba sourcing solution with the SAP ERP system. Okay. So you got it, or any question or anything you want to add here? Anyone? What about Ram? Are you good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good, Rohan.
Okay. So let's talk about this step by step. And once again, I'm just giving the clarity. So we are talking one complete transaction end-to-end configuration. Okay, so same thing applicable in the other solutions as well, whatever the other solutions you want to integrate, right? So let's say you want to integrate the contract, P2P, SLP, whatever. So, or even in case of supply chain collaboration or commerce automation as well. I'm not saying exactly the same thing applicable for all the integration. It's not like that. So, but most of the configuration will be common. For example, if you talk about the Ariba supply chain collaboration implementation, right, or commerce automation implementation. So in that case as well, whatever things we're talking in the ERP side configuration, that will be same. So I would say this is the pillar of your, that the ERP side configuration for any of the particular application. But apart from that, whatever other thing you can see like CIG side configuration, this will also be the common. Only information will vary depending on the scope, like which particular applications you are going to integrate, and some information will be also vary in case of this Ariba site configuration as well. Either it could be Ariba network or Ariba applications as well. So same thing is applicable applicable for other integration as well. So in this case, we are going to talk about all the other configuration of other applications as well. Okay. Now let's talk about whatever things that we have completed. So if you so we'll go in the sequence wise. We'll first go in the ERP, then we'll go to CIG, and after that we'll go to Ariba side. So first in the ERP side, we have discussed about the installation of the add-on, how to do that, something we discussed, how we can install the add-on, right? So we have seen that we have to go to SAP Service Marketplace. From there we have to install. So that means this part we can say we have done. Agree. Then enabling the CIG. In today's session, we discussed about how actually CIG enablement has to be done. So whatever things that something Ariba customer support team they have to do, or whatever things that actually we have to do as a Ariba consultant, that's something we discussed. And also we discussed once we are enabling the CIG, the system will generate the P user ID information. And that P user ID information is actually very important, right? So in that cases, that we discussed about how actually we have to enable CIG. That's something also we have done, right? Then apart from that, we are to discuss about, we discussed about the cloud connector setup as well. So there we have discussed about how to set up the cloud connector, how we have to install the cloud connector, how to download and install, and then whatever setup, that's something we have to do in the cloud connector, and how we have to add our ERP system, add information. That's something also we discussed. Right. So this part also we have covered as part of this. So these three config we have done, and I hope you are also clear on this three configuration. If you are having any question, you can ask. Otherwise, we are going to move to next configuration, that is the global settings configuration. Are you good? Or can we move to this global setting configuration?
Yeah. So please come.
Okay. Okay, so as we discussed, this global setting configuration is containing mostly the technical configuration where we can see, okay, and even this is purely basis team job as well. Only few of configuration that we have to perform as a Ariba consultant. We'll talk about those configuration in detail level. But whatever the configuration that your basis team they are doing, that's something I'm going to show you at high level. So first I will run a PPT just only for understanding purpose, and then we will talk about in system as well, or we can talk in system directly here because we are having the configuration live. So we can talk about that is this global setting configuration. So once you come in this global settings configuration, so here we can see the first configuration is the maintain certificate. Okay, so when you come in this maintain certificate, so this configuration is very important configuration, but this is done by the basis team, basis consultant. So when you come in this maintain certificate configuration, so we have the different options here, as part of this certificate. So we can see we are having the different kind of options here. So initially, when the basis team, they are going to configure this certificate, they may come back to you and they may ask you, can you please tell me which certificate we have to configure here? So can anyone try to make some guess, which kind of certificate we have to configure here and how we can get this certificate? Any guess from anyone? If you know.
Single sign-on.
Sorry?
Single sign-on certificate.
Oh, single sign-on different thing. That's not a certificate. That's a different thing.
Maybe we'll get the certificate from the Ariba itself. Yeah. From the buying and invoicing solution, we have a way to do that. But that is for web services, we do it. But for this, I don't know.
Okay, I'll tell you. I think Lalit is facing some problem in the joining audio. I don't know why is having the problem. Lalit, if you can hear me, so I cannot do anything from my side because I think it will should come automatically. You can join the audio from your side. I'm not pretty sure, might be Irfan can help us, but from our side, we don't have any kind of such option to enable or disable the audio. Lalit, if you can hear me, this is the answer from my side. Okay. Okay, so let me tell you how actually that we will get the certificate. So whenever the basis team, they actually require the certificate. And see, there are two things. If the basis team, they are well expertise, then in that cases, like, they know how to get certificate, they will collect it and they will actually configure this. Otherwise, if they are not, they don't know. So in that cases, like, they may try to reach out to you. They will ask you, can you please guide me, like, which certificate we have to use to configure there. Okay. So in that cases, how we can get the certificate information. So for that, like, as a Ariba consultant, we can help them. And if you see here, so in these cases, they have to configure the SSL certificate here. Okay. So now how to get this all this certificate information? So all this certificate information you can get on the CIG portal. So once you come on the CIG portal, so I'm trying to log in the CIG. You can see I logged in the CIG, and whenever you want to, you are trying to find out the certificate, you can take from here. So we have to come in the CIG, then go to this resources. We can see resource tool, resource tab. You have to come on the resources, and in the resources, if you see, you can see we are having the CIG certificate here. Okay. So once you come here in the CIG certificate, so here we can see we are having two things, that is the load balancer certificate and the tenant, like, the client CIG certificate. So we have to basically follow this load balancer certificate. Okay. So this we have to come in the load balancer, and depending on the environment where they are going to config, if they are going to config in the test site, then we have to click on the test, and here you can see this is certificate. So if you want to, that if you're expecting to extract the certificate, you can come here and click on this option, that is testacig.ariba.com. And once you click on this, then you can see system will download the certificate to you. Okay. So you can get the test certificate for the test site from here, or even if you are expecting for the production site, you can come here, and here also you can see you are having the certificate for the production site. So depending on the requirement, whatever the particular certificate, that's something they're expecting for the test site or the production site, that you can get it from the CIG tool, from the resources. And once you extract from the resources, you have to send it to basis team, and basis team, they have to actually configure the certificate on the ERP site here. Okay. But this is not a very quick activity, very simple activity. This is very lengthy activity and pretty much technical. Even I also don't know whatever things they have to actually perform here. But once you come here in this maintenance certificate, so you can see we are having the different like that node here. So basis team, they have to go to each and every node. Like here we can see first we are having something system PSC. They will go in the system PSC, and inside this also we can see we have something this certificate V4 calcs, something like that. So here they have to perform all the particular certificate information. So they have to actually go to each node each individual node, and wherever it is applicable. So to which node it is applicable, I don't know, because I'm not the basis guy, but at least they have to go to different node here, and wherever this is applicable, they have to actually config the certificate here. Okay, so they are following a kind of list of the activities here. If I can show you for your understanding purpose, let me try to show you from here itself how they're following to configure the certificate. I think this one. So you can see they have to come in this maintenance certificate options here, and once we will come in this maintenance certificate options, then you can see The similar kind of screen you can see in this presentation as well. And here they have to follow different process. So you can see it is given the informations here. Import SSL certificate, SSL server certificate for HTTPS connection. This is the root certificate of the CIG. Okay, import SSL certificate, SSL server certificate for HTTPS connection. This is a root certificate of CIG. On the trust manager screen, click SSL client anonymous, and click the import certificate button and refer the below examples shown in the screenshot below. So in this cases, what process they are following? So they have to come here. They have to click on this SSL client anonymous. And once they will click on this, you can see in the second step is talking about like this option. So if I'm not wrong, if I'll go to my ERP system once again, here. So here we can see we are having the node that is SL client anonymous, right? So we have to come in these options they are saying, and once we come here, so here basically you will get the options of the, in the downside we can see we are having the options of the import certificate, right? So same thing they are asking here, we have to come here and click on the import certificate. And once you click on this import certificate, then in the next you will get this kind of like step you have to follow. So now you can see in the third step, we have to navigate to the local drive in your computer where you have saved this SSL server certificate of the CIG. Select the certificate and press the enter. So whatever the certificate that we have earlier installed from the CIG tool, so wherever we have saved that like certificate, that's something like, we have to pick it, and then we have to select, and we have to allow to import the certificate. Okay, so once you do that, then click add the certificate list, and you will see a message that you have added the certificate successfully. And ensure that you save the newly added certificate. This notified the ICM about the new certificate you have just imported. So thing is that they're trying to say like while importing the certificate, it's not like that. Like let's say the same certificate we have downloaded a few months back, and the same certificate I'm going to import in the ERP system as well. This is not the correct. So what we have to do actually, we have to basically enable the certificate. Sorry, we have to download the recent certificate from the CIG side, and that certificate actually we have to install in the ERP side as well. Okay. Then apart from that, they're saying the different steps here. You'll get this kind of pop-up. You have to give the file. You can see the file name here. Then click on the allow. Once you do that, the certificate information will get updated here, right? Then we have the option add to certificate list. Once you click on that, you can see different kind of informations. Then certificate added to our PSC. And once again, they're asking, we have to go to something S-Trust. Sorry, we have to go to the transaction code SMICM. Then from menu, we have to go to ICM, restart. This is the activity we have to do. So you can see, I'm just showing you only for information purpose, not in detail manner, because this is purely basis consultant job. So here it is trying to show you like we have to come in this something SMICM. And once you come to this particular T code, you can see we have to go to ICM. Then from ICM, we have to go to restart, choose the option of the S. Then it will give you a kind of pop-up. Do you really want to restart the ICM? And then they are saying something, we have to navigate the maintenance certificate under global setting once again. Then go to the trust manager, create a new client, right? So if you see the screenshot, so we have to go to maintenance certificate once again, then go to environment, SSL client identities. After that, you will get this kind of entries here, this kind of screen. We have to maintain one new entry here. And as part of new entry, we have to maintain the identity as the Ariba, and we have description Ariba network client. Okay. And once you do that, the same way we have to go to next one, SL client Ariba network. And the same way we have to follow the different process. Like we have to go to import, then import this SSL client anonymous. And then same way, whatever you uploaded there, same way you have to do the here itself. And the certificate will also get added in the like our ERP system. So overall, if you see, this is not a kind of quick activity or a small activity. This include the different like activity as well. So I think this is completely done by the basis consultant. So my intention is just showing this PPT or just to show in the system itself, just for your look and feel like this. You know that basis team, they are actually configuring the certificate here. And the main thing is that how we can find out the certificate. So as we have seen that whenever we require to extract the certificate, we have to go on the CIG tool, and under this resources, we will able to find out our certificate. We have download the certificate and we have to give it to the base system if they required. Okay. So this thing basically they are doing. This is a technical configuration completely done by the basis consultant. Our if help only required in case if they're asking to from where they can get the certificate, that information we have to actually provide to them. Okay. So not only this, even if you see, we are having some other configuration that is create RFC destination port, logical system, receiver port, and some other configuration is also there. So whatever the configuration is applicable, I'm not saying all the complete end-to-end global setting configuration required. It's not like that. So whatever the other configuration required, so mostly this global setting done by the basis consultant. Only two things, or I would say only one thing we have to maintain or we have to perform. So one is that sending the SAP information to CIG. This is a very important activity that we have to do as a Ariba consultant. And this activity we have to perform in each and every ERP system. Then apart from that, we also have to work on this map the variant and partitions for SAP Ariba solutions. So these two things actually we have to take care. Rest of the complete part, your base system, they will take care. So I think not today now, but in the next session, we'll talk about the other global setting configuration, which are actually relevant to our integration project, even though it is done by the base system, but let's talk about at high level, at least for our look and feel. And then we'll start the other configuration in detail level, like which we have to perform as a Ariba consultant. Okay. So that's it from my side. Any question, comment? Okay, Tim. So
Yeah,
thank you so much. Enjoy the weekend. See you next week.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.
Thanks, Mohammed. Thank you. Thanks for the time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to visit our Vimeo page and follow for more upcoming videos.